look at this. Look how dirty people are. Why would you leave a bath like this? So I'm probably doing what most plumbers hate doing, bath panels. But we're not just putting in a standard bath panel. We are cutting and putting this stuff in. Yeah, they're shower panels, right? Wall panels. But they do work out quite well as bath panels. They're a bit tricky to put in because you got to get really nice, neat cuts. But hey, that's why they got me in. Now, before you do cut your bath panel, you got to put a frame in there. Because come on, we all know that plastic is plastic at the end of the day. And you need some support behind there. So we're not going to screw the bottom batten down, we're just going to glue it down. But the top one, see those divots there? Those divots are screwing points. Basically you get a little bracket that goes on them, and then you get those composite bath panels or those cheap plastic ones that actually clip onto them. But we're going to use those divots to screw our top batten on. And then we can put an upright there and an upright there and a middle center support. But explaining what I'm doing sounds easy. Doing it though is tricky. So come on, let's get stuck into it. Let's get this one done. Now this composite wall panel is actually quite a decent one. You know, these sort of ridges inside are quite thick. Normally when you get them, they sort of dent in very easy, and this one doesn't. But they are a pain to cut. They chip and all sorts, and I'm going to show you how I cut these absolutely neatly, no chipping, no nothing, cracking way to cut them. So stick around, I'm going to show you how you should be cutting these, because you know what, I've been doing them for years and I've learned the hard way. Our bath panel does not want to sit flush with that, wants to have a little bit of a recess, so basically any water will just go down and not flow in, and then we've got a nice edge to put a nice bead of silicone there. Now the easiest way to mark your levels and exactly where you need your battens to go as your frame to not allow enough clearance for that and allow enough clearance there is this way. And this is probably the easiest way that you'll ever do this job. Put your level on, put a piece of scrap on there and mark the front of your scrap. So that's the front edge of your panel is going to go to that mark there. Because the bath is wall to wall, I can't use my laser level, so I'm going to have to go old school and mark this by hand. So basically I'm going to put 3 points, one on either side and one in the center, so I know exactly where my batten is going to go. And I'm going to measure back from that measurement, I'm going to measure back 50 mil. So that's where the front edge of my batten is going to go. Let me show you something. This is where preparation comes in. And when things aren't prepared, then you're going to encounter issues like this. Now the silly tilers tiled it directly in line with the bath, or actually a few millimeters away from the bath. I told him specifically to tile about 40-50 mil in, so these tiles should have gone in there and your bath panel would have gone nicely against the tiles. So we are going to have a bit of a gap here, unfortunately, but we're going to have to make a plan and seal that up as best as we can. Right, so now that we've got our 3 points marked, we can just measure the length of our battens. So we've got 1683. Yeah. Let's get those 2 battens cut and then we'll go from there. Look at that, we magically got our battens cut. Stan did a very good job at it, to be honest with you. But here's another little tip, and this video is packed full of little tips and tricks to make your life a bit easier. So, you know, if you're not going to watch the full video, you might not get the full benefit of the video. But here's your next tip. So basically you got to measure your side supports and your center support, and the measurement's got to be quite good, because basically you don't want things to be loose and having to wedge things and stuff like that. You want really good measurements. This is the best way of doing it. If you're working on your own, measure from there, just roughly 460, and you're gonna cut 3 battens at 465. Trust me, I know what you're thinking, but just trust me, 465, right? We're gonna cut 3 battens at 465, and then I'll show you why we cut it oversized. Now, because I measured so perfectly and Stan cut the batten so perfect, it fits there, it doesn't fall off, it's nice and snug, but there is still play on that. So if we had to measure from the bottom to the top to get our support sizes, we're not going to get an exact measurement. So what we do, we take our oversized pieces and we just tap them in place, just like that, and your hands free. Now you can measure precisely without having to hold stuff up or worry that the bottom is going to fall down or stuff like that. Much easier this way, because now we can just get an exact measurement, 459. See what I mean? So your center one is 459, and then we'll measure this one, and that is coming at 460, and then this one, 456. Now if you're watching the video and you're wondering, why am I using wood instead of metal track? Well, I'm going to tell you why. All this wood is offcuts from this old job. And we've got a pile of offcuts. And obviously it's going to cost money to get rid of it. So we might as well just use it for these. And you might say, well, that's false economy, but not really. Every penny counts. And with recycling material, they would have gone to landfill in any case. So it's a win-win situation. Right, so we're going to get some foam. Well, this is not foam, it's PU foam, yeah? It sticks like mega stuff. Right, and then that can go in there. And then we'll just get the centerpiece. Put it in temporary. And then we've got 460. Now this is where the other trick comes in. Cut yourself a little piece of wood, the thickness that you want that to be flush with that. So in our case, it's 15 mil. So we just place it there. And we know that that's exactly where we need it to be. And that's flush as well. Now this goes without saying, make sure you got the correct size screws so that you're not going to go through the bath, but always pre-drill, because the fiberglass is quite hard to go through. Now we'll do that middle one. That's more or less center. It doesn't really matter, but you want it as center as possible. Nice and level. That's it. We're going to pin all of those, and that's your frame built, ready for the panel to go on. So basically our floor levels is out, and it works out to 515 on that side, 510 on this side. So we're going to cut it 515, and then we're going to scribe it in. Now we do want some play. You want at least 1 or 2 mil play, so that you can easily take the bath panel off, because the bath panel is only going to be sealed from the outside. Because obviously you've got to get into it, do maintenance on it, and you don't want to be mucking about trying to rip the bath panel off when it's all been glued to the frame. What's going to hold this bath panel in place is only surface silicone bead. That's it, that's all you need. So I find the best way for you to cut these panels is from the back, mark your panel and use your grinder, because you'll get a really nice clean cut. Now I'm going to trim off 10 mil because these are never straight. They got these ridges on them. It's an awful little finish. So we trim them off. there you go. That's done. Now that's recessed. That is not a gap. That is just a shadow. You can see the shadow there. That's all done. That is a gap. That is a gap because the tile doesn't go far enough in. Same as that side. There's a big gap because the tile doesn't go far enough in. It's loose for purpose because basically you want to be able to take this out nice and easily. You don't want to be struggling or chipping it away when you're taking it out and stuff like that. So you do need that little gap there. It's all nice and neatly cut, all done. All it needs is a bead of silicone. So there you go. So we'll push that in, hold it in place, and then seal the whole thing. Yeah, you thought I was finished, did you? Well, I'm not, am I? I'm still busy. I'm doing more bath panels. So because you got the benefit and the highlight of watching me do one bath panel, doesn't mean to say that's it for me. I'm busy with another one, but at least here I can use my laser level. Building out that frame, and then we can get the bath panel and put the bath panel in. Yeah, if you like videos like this, then consider subscribing to the channel, like the video, and leave us a comment down below and tell us what you think about using wall panels as bath panels.